Yo, what's happening, everybody? It's your boy Nick from Run the Foot Market. Today I am joined by special guest Mike. What's going on, dude?
What's happening, my man? Thanks for having me.
No worries, man. So we're bringing on Mike today, guys, because we're gonna be looking at the team of the group stage. Team obviously dropped today. Mike's gonna give you guys, as long as is with me with investment advice. He's more gonna give some gameplay tips on what he thinks about his favorite players from this team, what he likes in some players and what he doesn't like in others. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's start. Obviously, we'll start on the reserves.
So out of the reserves, you're saying nobody pops off the page for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, investment-wise, like, just to give the guys watching this video perspective, I think if any of those guys in the reserves like hit straight discard, maybe you go ahead, pick them up. If you think there's going to be an SBC, you know, like one of those ones that's a guarantee, and if it requires it, then these guys will probably go 15K upwards from discard. But I think the only one out of those five that I'm really looking at is playable at all, maybe, is that Andre Silva, and he's not even really that.
Oh, you don't think you could use Rodriguez? 86 overall. Right now it's showing me he's about 35,000 coins, which I don't think is necessarily a bad rate for him.
No.
But you just don't think that he'd be playable at all? I know he's not the fastest guy, but he's one of those players that I would potentially start in his normal position and maybe swap into a holding mid. You could play him as a left back. It just depends if he feels quick or not.
If you were to use a chem style on him, what would you do?
Not like the biggest believer in every chem style. Like, you should do it. Okay. You should use chem styles because there's nothing proven that they don't work, but sometimes I don't feel like I get these massive jumps. And I don't know if you feel that way. I'm not sure if you guys at home that are watching feel that way. But do you really feel that you got a +8 pace on this card this one time? Do you feel like his dribbling really got that much better? It's one of those mysteries in FIFA and Ultimate Team that they love to put out there. They want you to spend money. But if Rodriguez feels quick, he could have value. Everything else is fine. But there's those defenders, at least on the fullbacks, that are on the cuff of being fast and being slow. So you're looking at guys that have mid-70s all the way up to low 80s, like 81, 82 pace. You got to try them out. If you think they could fit into your squad, you have to try them out, and then you realize, oh, you're not that agile, or you don't recover, or your positioning is great, or it's not good enough, you name it.
I agree with that as well, and I think, guys, again, if any of those guys on the bench, Rodriguez won't, but if any of the other four guys, if they do hit a discard value, maybe you pick one up, you store it in your club, and maybe there's an SBC, and then you're going to make some good coins, or you're going to be able to do the SBC for a lot cheaper. So we'll move on to the bench. Obviously, first off, I'm looking at Ben Yedder. For me, I'm looking on the market right now. He's currently sitting at like 90K. From what I hear in the community, and I don't play a ton. You obviously play. I kind of do a lot of the trading. I think he's going to be a good card to trade with because he's French and he's got the 5-star weak foot. It's just about figuring out for me where the price I like him at. I think he's 90 right now. I would say if he goes somewhere in that, if he goes in that high 60, low 70 range, he could be a buy. You have thoughts in terms of gameplay? I don't know if you used Ben Yedder at all last year, but any thoughts on him?
Used him last year and I've used him this year. I rate the guy. I think that he's someone who is underappreciated in FIFA. He does have that 5-star weak foot, and he can play at multiple positions, whether you need him to be a cam, if you wanted him out wide, if you want him as a striker, a center forward, you name it. He can kind of do everything there in the middle. And I've always used him as a super sub. He's not somebody that you're necessarily looking for a starter in your team unless you have a very cheap team. But if you have icons, you've made those upgrades already, he's not going to be a starter. So it's a matter of, do you think that he covers multiple positions off the bench better than other people?
Moving on to the left, we have Mbappe, who is... He's just going under 500 right now. Just to give the guys watching some perspective, he obviously has, I think, an 85 rated inform that's in the same position, and it was selling for between the 400 to 460 range. So it's actually interesting that, you know, he's got this new card now. It's a little bit better in rating. I don't know how much of a boost it was from his 85. It's got to be up a little bit in shooting and pace and all around. And right now it's actually about to get close to his informed selling value for last weekend. Obviously the inform is down in value now, it's in 350s, but you know, it's only up right now 30K, and you do get a little bit of an upgrade. And I haven't been able to use Mbappe this year yet, but you know, guys, I think if this card is lingering in that 400 to 450K range, I think by the time he goes out of packs, he could be a guy that rises. The only problem with Mbappe, and I think you know this as well, is that he plays so well in real life that I feel like you're always very scared that he might get another inform. And if you're an owner of this card, I would say if you guys end up investing in a guy like Mbappe, make sure you're monitoring him. Obviously, he has that once to watch card, and you need to make sure that whatever you use, if you use some kind of site or you watch the games, just make sure you're keeping tabs with it because you don't want to look back and lose a lot of money. If you bought this card and he gets another inform soon. You have any thoughts on Mbappe?
You need to be willing to assume the risk, as Nick was saying, because any player that represents PSG always has a chance of getting informs, especially an attacking player, just because playing in the Ligue 1, goals go in. I've seen them score 5-6 goals, which means there's a great chance that you're going to have even multiple informs at times. And if you're the Mbappes, the Neymars, even though he's kind of struggled at times, the Cavani's, just getting along with everyone, then those guys have a high chance of getting an inform. Mbappe has a lot of hype on him because his normal card is incredible. I know you said you haven't really used Mbappe, but
yeah, I've heard he's great.
His normal standard card is outstanding. Probably better than great. He's just special. However, I didn't really enjoy his inform. I've used his inform.
Okay.
And I didn't think that it was an upgrade whatsoever. So that makes me kind of like in a toss-up zone as well. Now we've gone up to an additional rating, but is he going to feel like the original? Is he going to feel like the inform? Is he going to feel like something different?
Yeah.
I know you look at everything from a trading perspective, but
yeah, no, and that's why it's good.
I think it's tricky. It's tricky for you though, like you said, because you know he's going to get another inform, right? He's got to.
At some point,
unless he gets injured, he's going to get another inform, you would think.
Looking at Firmino, I think the initial thing that jumped out to me was that 4-star, 4-star. I haven't used his normal card, obviously. I don't know if you have, but I really think he could be a decent cam in squads. If you're going to throw him in a Prem team, if you were to play him at the cam position, I think he could do the job. He's currently sitting 170K. It was interesting to watch him today. When he first came out, he went to 160, and then he jumped back up to 230 after the first hour, and it looks like he's starting to come down again. And I think if you were to get this card just around, what do you think a fair value is to pay for this card? Around just maybe above 100?
I'm not a great trader, but if you can get him for 100,000, I think that's a good deal. Out of the bench and the reserves, the most interesting cards as a player for me is Yedder and Firmino, just because Mbappe's kind of been a toss-up, and I like his normal card so much, and this guy would be somebody that I'm most likely going to bring off the bench. So if I'm bringing him off the bench, then I just want to let me get that 83, throw him into the mix. Sorry, 82 I think is his original card. Let me throw him into the mix. But I like Yedder and I like Firmino. Like you said, I agree. Don't play him as a striker. Look for him to be a cam. And statistically, you've got somebody to really use as an effective cam. Because he's not small either. Firmino's not a small guy. He's got some size to him. He's got some height to him. Yeah, but he doesn't look small or feel small in the pitch. You're not going to be haunted by that Juan Mata feel or the Pedro where you're like, damn, if anybody touches this guy, I'm in trouble. Yeah. He's also got an 84 for an agility. I said an agility, but for agility has an 84. Yeah. And the reason that's relevant is because your first touch, your little sidestep movements, something that you really can appreciate as a center attacking midfielder, he should be able to do that without any issues. He's going to look very crisp. He's going to be smooth like a gazelle when he moves, in theory, if this card lives up to the in-game stats, which we know is always debatable in FIFA.
Rigoni, I'm not looking at him anywhere else other than a super sub, if you're into that. Obviously, I'm not a, it looks like an alright card. He does have the 5-star weak foot, which I didn't know. But playing in the Russian League, investment-wise, guys, I'm not loving it. And then I'm going to quickly just go through the next two, and then you can obviously give your thoughts on these four guys. Canellis and Llorente, not looking at those two guys. Again, going back to the discard investment piece. If those guys go, at some point, we had crazy foot miss time last year where they're requiring screens sometimes, Movembers, a lot of Team of the Week informs. Maybe this year, because we don't have Movembers, they substitute that and require some Team of the Group stage cards. Who knows? If these guys hit discard, at least just pick up one and put it in your club and forget about it. You can quick sell him and not lose any coins at any given value. And then, I want to get your thoughts on Ter Stegen because he's got that saves with feet trait, right? And I've heard good things about him. What do you think about him?
Is he going to replace the likes of De Gea or even Neuer? Most likely not. However, in the La Liga, if you have to play a goalkeeper from the La Liga, it's a toss-up. I think Ter Stegen's worth trying in that case. But I don't know. I'm not really a big believer in goalkeepers, in informs, and special cards. It never has been a big jump for me in any FIFA installment. And I don't think FIFA 18 will play into that at all either. I just don't see it happening. Just my opinion. And most people cater their teams towards the goalkeeper when they're looking at center backs. So if you have an icon center back or somebody from a certain league. And Ter Stegen being German, it has value, but at the same time, if you have a German center back, let's say Boateng, then you could get Neuer in there. So it would be a matter, do you hate Neuer? Do you hate Farman? Do you hate Leno? How many German goalkeepers do you dislike to the point that you would get to Ter Stegen? I know that sounds bad on Ter Stegen,
no,
but...
I totally agree with that because, and you know, the biggest problem, and the biggest problem and plus, though, when we look at investments, is he the best? What are the other options, right? So when I look at De Gea, right, I love him because he is the best in my opinion. I've played against the guy. You've played against him a lot. But in this year's FIFA, I think he's probably regarded as he's got to be top 2, top 3. And that's what's important about the investment, and that's what boosts his price for every weekend league, you know, when people are buying their teams after rewards. For me, Ter Stegen has a little bit of an issue where you just went in and you said, well, maybe for La Liga, but he has other options there as well. So you're talking not even like, you know, when you're looking at that many options in a league, I think, guys, it's going to be tough to make the investment work. I think, obviously, a range of price where you're looking at him is 70 to 80K. If you get him in that range, I think that's an appropriate price. It is a good card. But, you know, as Mike said, I'm kind of a believer in what you said about the goalie thing. I've never really felt that way either about goalies.
I've used Team of the Year Neuer on multiple FIFAs now, and I never felt that he was better than the previous Neuer in any installment. So I'm just not that big on the goalkeepers. You find a goalkeeper you like. Hopefully you find a couple that maybe you fall in love with. Like this year, I tried Neuer for a lot of the year, and I had to make the switch to De Gea. And I think De Gea is regarded, like you said, as the best goalkeeper. If you don't have him as the best, for sure he's in your top 2 or 3, no debatable. And that just makes it where he is valuable. He's gone up in price. Like that's one of the few players I've probably made money on because I was there a little bit early compared to when everybody got word that this was the guy, spend the money, he's worth it.
We have Lloris, who, you know, is a good player. Again, I think it's one of those things where that's just a situational thing. It depends on if you like him as a goalie. I think an appropriate price is probably, and most FIFAs we see this when Lloris gets an inform. His inform's kind of like a high 100 price range. Right now he's 220. So I would say if any of you guys, if there's a point this week where this card goes to like 160, it's probably a pretty good buy. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it there. 160, 170 is appropriate. We see that card usually hang around the 180 to 210 range. And it's a similar thing where do you like the goalie? Just figure out if you like him, if you're doing it as a team, as an investment. Again, I don't love it because investment-wise, I think De Gea is just the guy that everybody relies on this year. And then obviously, we'll move into the defense. The one guy in the defense that sticks out to me is Kimmich. What sticks out to you in the back four?
I also think Kimmich is the most interesting of the defenders, and I do want to make one quick mention about Lloris. I actually find that Lloris is very fast. So if you're somebody who plays aggressively, Lloris could be an upgrade for a goalkeeper for you. So if you're good at bringing out a goalkeeper, he comes out a little bit quicker than other goalkeepers, in my opinion. So it's just a matter of how you play defense, how you play FIFA, but if you're a high-pressure player and you're kind of a risk taker, Lloris could be a really nicely suited goalkeeper for you. Just my opinion. Yeah. But yeah, Kimmich looks the most interesting. Is he going to be... He's in that pace issue that I talked about.
It's the same thing as Rodriguez.
75 to about 81, 82. Is the guy quick enough to be a fullback? But when you look at the other numbers, you just feel like you can find a position for him. Please, I can find somewhere for you to play on the pitch. How tall is Kimmich?
Let's look. He is 5'9".
Yeah, so you really can't play him as anything in the middle. I didn't think he was tall. I thought he was like 5'10" maybe. So it's really difficult because he's definitely not built like a winger. So he's either built to be an amazing center mid, box-to-box, CDM, or a fullback. And the fullback is a bit of a toss-up, but he has everything you're looking for. I mean, happy days. If you even get a fraction of some of those stats, he's still going to be arguably one of the better fullbacks in the game as long as he can run. Please be able to run. And you can make up for it if the guy has good positioning.
I think if you were to get maybe another inform or two just to get that pace stat up in the 80s, he could start to be really good, especially because we were just looking at his in-games. His in-games everywhere else besides the pace is really nice. And imagine what that would be with a few more upgrades. It's just about finding where to put him. And right now, I kind of agree with you. I wouldn't really.
He's got one stat that sticks out to me, though, that could save him on the speed issue, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. This guy has a 92 agility. That's very rare for any defender. Fullback, center back. If he gets even an 85 agility, he won't feel slow. I'm telling you that right now, he will not feel slow. Because that's where you have your side-to-side movement. So that's when you're cutting off passing lanes. That's when you're making interceptions. That's when you're anticipating when your opponent's going to cut inside or something. He's got you. He's there instantly. And it also deals with, in my opinion, recovery time. So if you have someone that's really agile, he recovers quicker. And therefore, he can cover up for maybe only having, oh my God, a 71 sprint speed. Holy crap.
I know.
Wow.
Low.
That's way low. He's going to be one of those guys you have to experiment with, but that is low, my friend.
It's low.
That is low.
It's like you're looking at the dribbling and the defending and physical and all that, man. Look at the stamina, 96. I mean, it's so perfect. It's so perfect except that one stat.
This is the best dribbling I think I've seen on a fullback in quite some time. Look at his fullback. He has a 92 agility, 92 balance, 92 reactions, insane. Ball control, dribbling. Everything is just premium.
The passing, the crossing is 97.
Wow.
I mean, that's insane for a fullback.
He might be worth experimenting with, but the issue is this sprint speed is
it's killer, man.
He's so all right. This is what you do, man. You play him as a right back and you move him into a center mid, because the sprint speed doesn't become an issue anymore as him as a center mid. I think he might be worth taking the chance on. I don't know about on the investment. I'm talking more on the player side here. Yeah. But you just got to shift him. You have to shift him because everything else, especially at this stage of the game, that's really important to emphasize. The stage that we're currently at, where we're playing the game early December. Yep. Kimmich as a center mid is better than other center mids right now.
Yep.
Even your premium center mids, this card would potentially be able to compete with them. Other issue with Stones, he's selling for in the 30s. Why don't you just go get Bailly? Why don't you look maybe even at a Rudiger? There's other players that you can choose from that league that are in this price range. If you loved Otamendi, I don't see him out there that much. But there's other options. There's other options.
I agree.
I don't think Stones is good enough to draw enough interest.
Casemiro is actually a really interesting situation. I'll let you talk on him as a player. But as an investment, he had an inform from, I think, Team of the Week 11. And that inform was selling for about 200. Maybe it was Team of the Week 12. I don't know which Team of the Week. Team of the Week 11. I think it was 11. And it dropped at the lowest to 180. And this Team of the Group Stage card right now is actually at 195, 200. So it's basically just taking the place, like a lot of other players that we're talking about, because you know they've been smashing lightning rounds all day. These guys are being packed a lot of supply onto the market. A lot of these guys have just taken the prices of their past informs with a little bit of an upgrade, and he's a medium high. It was a guy, I'll tell you right now, after a few upgrades, I loved his card last year. After a few informs, I used him. I had a La Liga team. Right now, the current state of this inform, right? With his normal's an 85. Talk about him just as if you were going to play this guy as just a holding mid in a La Liga team, how do you feel about him?
He is what I would consider decent. Like his normal card, you're looking at about a 7 out of 10. In fact, you guys in the comments, let us know. Well, where do you rate Casemiro? Because I do think that this is very much so a preference choice. He's not the tallest. But he's got good width, so he still has that size to push people around. He's also not the fastest, and I think that's always been something that separates him, is that he doesn't have incredible shooting, and he's not lightning fast. So he doesn't have either of those. So he's a true CDM, but he's not 6'5" with I guess a low attacking and a high defensive. That's not him. So I think there's a little bit of preference. If you have coins, I would probably go elsewhere. I think this will always be a debatable. You're right, though. Last year, I remember that he had multiple informs, and this could be another year of a similar. It could fall in line the same way, where you have multiple informs, and one of them is just incredible, and it makes you happy, or you wait for a team of the season, whatever it might be. But out of this group stage, there's other guys that I'm more interested in. I'll say that.
Investment-wise, I think Casemiro. If you get him 170, you're basically getting him cheaper than what his previous inform was selling at. So if that ends up happening at some point this week through a ton of promos, you probably have to hop on that. You have to know that he has somewhat of a demand, and people regard him as somewhat, I think, a good player in the CDM and for La Liga team. So let's get on.
People need him for chemistry is what I was going to say sometimes.
Yeah, that too.
Because he's with Real Madrid, you don't have that many options in that center mid.
And Cruz for me is way too slow.
Exactly. So Casemiro sometimes ends up being in lineups off a default versus his amazing ability. He's good enough. Exactly. Just wanted to add that. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
It's a very good point, man, because that's honestly, that can jump investments sometimes. If you find a guy, I think we were looking at this on a stream the other week where, do you remember that left back in a Team of the Week who was the French guy, Roussillon? He was looking at as a great investment, and then people started to panic a little bit on him because I did too. I didn't panic, but I thought Kurzawa was a lock for Team of the Group stage. So I thought, not that Kurzawa would be great, but that he could give him a little competition. Kurzawa's a little bit of a bruiser. And Kurzawa had 3 goals and 2 assists, I think, in the group stage.
And he has better track record in FIFA. Kurzawa has been really good in past FIFAs, yeah.
So what actually happened, dude, was people were panic selling that left back inform, like, damn, you know, Kurzawa's gonna get in tomorrow. I gotta get that guy. He didn't get in, and that inform's already up a lot. So it's just interesting how we were just talking on the need basis of Casemiro, how you might need him and he might be good enough. It's the similar thing with some investments like that left back. I don't even know the team he plays for, but I know he plays in the French league and he's France, and that's kind of the go-to guy right now. So just interesting to look at that kind of stuff sometimes.
For 91 rated center mid, it's worth mentioning. He's probably somebody that you want to play as a cam, but I love De Bruyne. I rate him. He can do everything with both feet, skill moves, passing, shooting, you name it. I think he's a really nice player to use. It just depends what your team looks like, because you're starting to get near the icon pricing now. And that's where it becomes, can you afford an icon? Is an icon a better choice? I know you're going to view this a little bit differently when you're looking at the trading side. But at the same time, a lot of center mids or cams that are really premium icons aren't 700,000 coins. You're looking more over $1 million. So it's a matter of, well, do you want to get somebody right now? But I've rated De Bruyne's normal card. I'm sure this card's going to be outstanding. He's just one of those players that I really never have anything negative to say as a cam. He's too solid across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I got to use his first inform man for like 20 games this year, and it was great. And I loved De Bruyne last year. And just speaking again, like, it's so crazy looking at these prices. That's why I was so surprised when I saw 709, because I've been trading with his first inform this year. It's a rare card. It has demand for weekend league. It does really well as an investment. I get to pick it up on Sundays because it's so rare. It has like a 2 or 3 hour period where I can get in, and the panic and people are undercutting. And then I pick it up, and that's the only window. And then it continues to rise up because people buy him back, and they buy him for their teams once they get the rewards on Thursday. So I do really well trading with that card. And I've been trading with the card, buying it like 600 and flipping it for like 670, 680 for weekend leagues. And it's crazy how this card is he's almost in that 600 range. And I think, for me, I think it's a steal. Like the point you made about how most of the elite cam icons, like, I guess what, Del Piero,
premium Del Piero, and I think if you want to get the prime, that's going to cost you probably around, I was going to say over $1 million coins, but you're not seeing those coins again. And then let's say you want to play Hullet as a cam, enjoy that price tag that's going to come with him.
So I see it as a, you know, he's in the Prem too. A lot of people run Prem teams. I see it as a really good. If you see this guy like 650, guys, I think if you are interested in that card, investment-wise or want to play with it, it's probably a really good time to buy. I can't believe we're sitting here and these things have been in packs for 7 hours, and he's already 700K. So moving on to Hazard, it's interesting to note that his first inform, which was from Team of the Week 10, it dropped to like 750 in the panic because people thought he was going to get in, and then he got in, and people even sold it lower. It's the same position. There's no position change to like left wing for this card. It's a little bit of a boost. It's currently selling at like 1.38. Now he does get, I think, let me pull this up on my other monitor.
He's double the price tag though.
Is it worth 600K more?
Yeah.
I think you're probably maybe better off going with the 91, but if you want to speak on that, go for it.
Some of this is about feel, and some of it's more about, do you want a blue card versus a black card? It's that simple, and you want to pay for it, because statistically, to me, they still look very similar. And the big thing with Hazard is that he's changing positions, but his previous inform is also a center attacking mid, so that's not really the debate. It's really between the inform and the team in the group stage. But the card looks excellent. I'll say that. He looks awesome.
Yep.
I haven't played with the inform or against the inform, and I haven't played with or against this card yet, but I definitely think he's a viable cam.
Guys, I'm not, investment-wise, I'm not advising this at all. Neymar, obviously, I think we all know. I'm expecting him to get multiple informs on top of this as long as he stays healthy. Kind of similar to Mbappe. We were talking about PSG attackers. He's been killing it this year. I think there's been many Team of the Weeks that he probably should have been in, and he hasn't. But I think he's got more goals, more informs to come. I would try my best to stay away from this. As his gold card, and this is kind of like more of a complex thing, but as his gold card is 500K, with those kind of tier players, we look at Pogba as an example, right? His gold card is 500. It's in that 470 to 520 range. It moves a lot. His first inform is around 800 to 900. Usually the first informs of these players, they hang 300 to 400K higher than their gold card. It's just the way it works. It's the way I see it whenever I'm investing and trading with cards. This card right now is like 1.05. I think it's a little too much, guys. I think you have more informs coming. And I think if you're a guy who really loves Neymar and you want this upgrade, try to find a time to get on the ones to watch.
I would stay away, yeah, stay away.
Exactly. And you'll be in that position then with the ones to watch where if he's getting the team of the week, you've got him. And you'll get the upgrade right away, just like... exactly. I'm not even going to have you speak on it because I just think it's not worth investing in this specific card. Maybe the ones to watch, guys, but I would be very careful.
If you had a section where you had buy or bust, I think you should add that into the channel. Buy or bust. This would be a bust investment, bust totally. As a player, bust for everyone. It's not a big enough upgrade to really make it worth it as a player. You already have the one to watch card that's in motion. You know he's going to get another inform. Like, this guy would have to be the greatest player on your team to make it worth your risk here in terms of the reward. Even as a competitive player, but we're not in a qualifying month right now either. So it's really tough to say, yes, this is somebody you should go after.
Obviously a striker.
Whew.
There he is.
This is the one you're going to make money at. I'm going Ronaldo, you're going Kane.
Let's go Ronaldo.
Okay. If you're going Ronaldo, this is where I think... This is like the pro player's dream, okay? Which means pro players will pay an extortionate amount for players. They pay way more than anyone else because they need to have them at certain time periods. And they want to try them out. They want to experiment with them. And I don't know what the good price is. This is where you would be much more qualified than myself. I don't know what price is the time to buy them, but in terms of interest level, through the roof. Has to be through the roof. Arguably the best player in the game. Definitely in the top 5, even including icons.
He's Ronaldo, guys. Obviously, you know what you're going to get. But I think it looks like how sizable of an upgrade is it from his gold card?
I mean, it looks significant though if you're talking about it. He bumps at every stat. Like what is
shooting?
I think he gets a plus like 13 stat change or something. Let me look at this too.
Plus, wow.
It's actually very significant for a single upgrade card, basically.
I agree. And we've been talking about this. I've been talking about specifically about finding the time to buy this guy. For me, you mentioned a really good point, guys, and this is something that everybody's been talking about today, and you just mentioned it as well. But all the pro guys, like, they're going to be willing to pay.
Think who's buying this card. This is going to be pro players and guys that don't have a normal budget. Okay, exactly. So these are not going to fall under the same types of rules of some of the other cards and investments. I'm sure they won't. Because I've seen people pay ridiculous prices for cards they needed, and this is going to be a need for a lot of people.
So for me, here's the situation that lies with if you're competitive, whatever you are, if you're an investor, whoever you are watching this video, the only thing I have an issue with, right? And Mike, I'm not sure if you saw this, but I believe, and I'm not positive, that he's supposedly getting a Team of the Year striker.
That's an interesting debate. I can't say yes or no. None of us can, but. This card would be more valuable than a Team of the Year card potentially as a left wing. Potentially.
Exactly.
Potentially.
That's something that I've been telling the guys who watch my channel is that you need to look out for whether or not you pick this card up this week. Because I think for me, if you were able to get this card in the 4 to 4.25, 4.3 range, I think it's a good buy. Pending we get no guaranteed group stage SBC, right? Because that would obviously give him more supply. People would be going broke spending money to do those, you know what I'm saying, those guarantee packs. And that would obviously higher his supply on the market. While his demand is still huge, he might go down 100, 200, 300K more than he normally would without those packs. But I've been telling people that, you know how we get that big Team of the Year pre-crash every year? Usually happens within that first week of January where all those guys, everybody really goes cheap. If you see this card going real low because people are, skeptical that he's going to get a Team of the Year striker, here's the situation, and I was saying this with Hazard. If Hazard's card today was a left wing, you needed to go right onto foot, and you needed to go buy his Cam's card, because that card would have gone so high in value. Probably would have gotten close to $1 million. With Ronaldo, if you're an owner of Ronaldo, whatever price you get it at, I would say 4 mil for me, 4 to 4.2, that's probably reasonable for this card, and you might see that go up more. I've seen that 94 R9 is selling for 7.1 today. Henri's card is around 4.125. That's where it's kind of chilling at. This is obviously better than, I think, 90. Is it 93 Henri?
He's better than any version of Henri.
Exactly. So I think if you were to get that card around the Henry price, that's a steal. And that card is around 4.12. So if you're able to get that around that price, I think it's great. If you want to take the risk with this going into Team of the Year, if you don't want to take the risk, just be aware of that Team of the Year announcement for FIFA Ultimate Team. If it comes out that he's a left wing, this card is going to skyrocket in value if he gets no other striker informs up to Team of the Year. So that's my thoughts on that. I'd say be very careful because it is a high-valued card. But if you're an owner of this card, for me, it's going to stay very high in value, especially with the amount of coins we have in the game this year and the amount of demand through pro players and competitive scene that we have. I think it's obviously a great card, and I think it's going to stay up really high in value. That's just, you know, my kind of take on it.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised. So many people put astronomical investments in terms of their finances this year. From the pro player side, the YouTube side, and then the normal consumer of the content or the fan of the FIFA series, there's been so much money introduced to FIFA. Like, I didn't put enough in. And now it's almost too late for me. As I put in money, I never get the same amount that I could receive back because players have hit these really high price tags because people can afford it. So, like, if I had a bunch of money in terms of, I'm talking in-game currency here. If I had millions of coins in October, I would be able to get almost everything I wanted. And then they're just going to go up because the icons all skyrocketed. All the high-rated players pretty much went up because you need them for the qualifications, the tournaments. Everybody wants them. If you've played against the Ronaldo, then you know you would like to have him on your team. If you played against an R9, it's even worse. I think R9 is actually better than Cristiano. And then lastly, we have Kane.
Yeah.
Boo! Sorry, Tottenham fans. They don't do him justice. Like, he's just not catered towards being.
I'm a huge Spurs fan.
Okay, he's just not catered towards FIFA. You know,
no,
he's
exactly.
not. He's not.
And I was just gonna say that.
There's nowhere that he fits on the pitch. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure where you want to try him as a center mid. You got to remember, this is somebody that has a 70 basically for pace. I think he has under a 70 for either its acceleration or sprint speed.
Yeah, 69
One of them's
acceleration.
not. There you go. That's tough for any striker. And then you add in that he doesn't have skill moves. So he has. Well, where is this creativity going to come from? You're going to shield someone to death, and it just becomes a bit of an issue. Now, what's good is an 88 overall. Is his finishing going to be superb? Sure, and that's what he does in real life. It's kind of his attacking mentality and positioning combined with his ability to finish in real life makes him such a talent. However, those skills don't necessarily translate to FIFA success.
If you were to pick, let's say, a combination of, I know you're not the craziest trader, but if you're going to pick 3 cards from this group, right, of 20, is it 23 players? You're gonna pick 3 cards from this group. What's your favorite combination of, you think, player and investment? Who do you think is the best in terms of a guy that you would love to play with, you think looks good, and could really do some significant rising in terms of what their current price is right now that we've looked at?
So I'm gonna tell you the guys that I think are most interesting. Okay. And you can take that for what it is.
Totally.
And I might give you 5 here. So this is 5 that I find are interesting. I think Kimmich is super interesting because we don't know what these stats mean yet, but boy, do they look nice, right? And they're very high rated, and maybe it's a different position for him. I could just see a pro player using Kimmich and blowing him up, okay?
Yeah.
Like if Gorilla said, yo, I want to try Kimmich in December, and when he comes back, he has great results and rates him, and his price doubles. Because some of these guys have that much influence, or a TAS, or even a hashtag Harry. If these guys said, yo, this guy is special, people are going to try him, his price can skyrocket, and he's low enough where you can pick him up, and like you said, you could probably get him for about 100K.
Which is crazy. Like, we're looking at the stats, and the pace is the thing keeping him down. Yes,
but if he gets the cosigns of multiple pro players, even one of the right pros, you would go from 100K to maybe 250, 300,000, I would think, pretty easily.
Look what happened to the right guard center back icon.
Yep.
You've seen that?
Through the roof. Yep.
Goes from 500 to 750 to 800 in like a week because he got out on some YouTube videos. Guys really liked him, and the community wants to try it as well.
He looks brilliant.
That's a very good point.
He looks brilliant. So Kimmich is very interesting, and out of the groups or the group of players we have here, he's one of the more affordable potential pickups in my opinion. So he might be terrible in game. I don't know, but. Exactly. He's interesting. Ronaldo is interesting because it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a position change. Now, I understand your viewpoint. What happens with Team of the Year? You're obviously going to have a higher rated card, so that's one. But is it going to be a striker? Is it going to be a left winger? Because even if you have a ton in your bankroll, having a striker Ronaldo allows you to do a little bit more with those wingers. You just swap a position over. It makes it easier. I would say on the bench, I'm really interested in Yedder and Firmino. Now let's see what kind of price you can grab him for, but I've liked both of them this year, and I think Firmino looks like he got a significant improvement on his card. Now there is a risk that he gets another inform. Liverpool does score goals, so you might have a limit of how long you get them. I would love to have that Ben Yedder card, me personally.
It's actually like, it looks like you can snag him under 90 right now.
I rate Ben Yedder. I've been a fan of Ben Yedder. If you've been on my channel, I've always said good things. And the last guy that I think we're going to bring up here, as much as I like De Bruyne and Hazard and Neymar and so forth, I think Casemiro is also going to be interesting for links, and that there's not really a dominant center mid in that league. In terms of like people's go-to, Modric doesn't lead the way. People aren't like, I'm going to grab Modric. Cruz, no, people aren't jumping out of their seats. I've seen people use Paulinho this year. He's good, but he's an 81, I believe. Now you got Casemiro's an 87. I've seen people use Nzonzi, but a lot of people might roll with Casemiro instead, and then he also gets better links unless you have a French-based team. So there's a lot to debate here. If you're doing a La Liga team, you most likely, though, are using Ramos. So now you have Ramos to Casemiro, that's a strong link. You're most likely using Ronaldo to Casemiro, that's a strong link. Gareth Bale to Casemiro, and that's really hard. This is where Casemiro gets his most value. I've used Casemiro this year mainly because how the hell do I link up Gareth Bale? Unless you have icons. How do I link this guy? And it drives me crazy, and Casemiro ends up being the default because he's Brazilian, which means he can link with other Brazilians. He's in the La Liga, and most importantly, he plays for Real Madrid. And Gareth Bale is that good that he actually made Casemiro this year have so much more value, in my opinion. So those are the five that I'm interested in. I told you about Lloris, that he could be really nice just on the speed. But what are you thinking? What are you leaning towards here?
I love Casemiro as well because of that Bale thing, and I know Bale is crazy this year in terms of such a good player in the game, and this is really the only way you can link him. So that's what I love. I love investing in players. I trade with Antonio Valencia a lot because he's the best, and people love him. It's kind of like a lock thing, you know what I'm saying? So Casemiro for me is like everybody who had his inform or a gold card, they're probably going to try this card out. And because it's taken the value of that inform, it's interesting to me at this price. I think he's one that I really like. I think you mentioned Ben Yedder, and I think a similar thing to Ben Yedder, whereas if he gets, he had a lot of community hype last year. If that happens again and people realize how good he is again, I've liked him as well. I used him last year. I think that's a good one. Yeah, I think if I were to give 3, in terms of obviously Ronaldo, great demand, but if I were to give a 3 or 4, I'd say, yeah, Ben Yedder, Casemiro. I like De Bruyne a lot just because he does have a certain demand, and I think his price is so interesting to me right now, just starting to go under 700. And then Kimmich. Kimmich is going to be really interesting. I think Kimmich and Casemiro are going to be the most interesting dynamic of players in game and prices to look at. Like, what's going to happen with those two guys in terms of, are those guys going to go up when these things go out of packs? Again, obviously, Kimmich, 2 informs this year already before this card. You need to watch out if you have this card. You need to make sure you're following the Bayern games, because if he gets another inform, this card's going to go down a lot, and the same thing with Casemiro. So, I mean, those are my thoughts, man. I appreciate you hopping on the channel. Guys, you need to subscribe to Mike if you're not already. I'm going to put all of his links in the description below. Thanks for coming on, dude.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's nice to have this kind of back and forth because it's very different perspectives when we're talking about the same player. So I'm looking at it, of course, from I need this guy, weekend league, playability, and then you're looking at the other end of things where it's like, all right, well, when would I be able to sell this guy? When should I buy him? At what rate do I think I'm going to profit? What's a good grab? What's not a good grab? But yeah, Ben Yedder, even if you look at his in-game stats, I just pulled him up now. Unbelievable. I mean, he's even got 80 heading and 94 jumping. I mean, he's only 5'7", but I don't know. I like it. This would be somebody that I would use as a super sub because you could play him in the middle, you could play him on the wings, and you can play him up top. So I can use, because this is another perspective that's very much so on the competitive end. You want to keep your team rating usually lower, just because people are always concerned about potential handicap. So therefore, you can only have 1 or 2 subs tops as your team improves. So you need
one of them.
Yes, because he can cover multiple positions. Because you don't know if maybe I'm going to need a winger. Maybe I'm going to need somebody in the middle. Maybe I'll need somebody up top. And that's also what makes Gareth Bale so valuable. He might be the most versatile player this year. You can play Gareth Bale, and he would be the best player on the pitch, possibly as your striker, as your cam, as your left midfielder, your left winger, as a holding mid. He's amazing as a CDM, or as a left back.
Yep, totally agree.
Who else can you name that can cover so many positions?
Hear it in the comments below. Let's get a top 3 from guys you like as a combination like Mike and I just did in terms of investment-wise and playability, who do you guys like the most? Again, Mike, thanks for coming on, man. All of his stuff down below, guys. Check it out. Again, subscribe if you guys are new over here, and make sure you guys drop the vid a like. We're going to head it out now, boys. Peace.
Peace.